Hi boys. Normally we run a 3-1-2 when we play 7v7. Tonight we're playing 9v9. So we're going to run a 3-2-3. I'm going to run through some things that are going to change. So let's talk through some basic things that are changing from 7v7 to 9v9. So the field is 20 to 30% bigger in all dimensions. There's no build out line. And then there's offside after the halfway line because there's no build out line to have offside from. And then the biggest change is that there's going to be 8 field players instead of 6 field players. So let's have a talk about where those players are going to go. So in our 3-1-2, we had 3 defenders, 1 central midfielder, and 2 wide forwards. We would often talk about it as 3 defenders and 3 forwards. So we have 3 defenders and 3 forwards. You can see them in dark red and dark blue here. For 9v9, we're going to have an extra midfielder, and we're going to have an extra forward, center forward. So that ends up with a defensive 3, a center 2, and then an attacking 3. As always, we want to be more spread in possession and more compact when defending. When taking a goal kick in 7v7, we would have a build-out line. So the pressing team had to be at or behind the build-out line. That meant that when we were building up, we could do easy passes out to our wide defenders, and then we could build it up on one side and start passing it around right from the back. At 9v9, we're going to have no build-out line. Let's see what that looks like. So with no build-out line, all of a sudden the pressing team can come in as close as they want. They just need to be outside of the penalty area. The defenders can be inside of the penalty area. The choice then for the goalkeeper and the defenders is to either pass it out and build it out like we have been doing previously, or if there's a lot of pressure, if there's a lot of pressing happening, then the goalkeeper or one of the defenders can directly pass it out to our wide forwards, access these wide forwards, and then we can have follow up from one of the central midfielders and the striker up here. For attacking and defending in the midfield, for the 3-1-2, if the ball is with our wide defender, they have a few options here. They can dribble the ball forward and take their space. They might find a 2v1 with either the midfielder or the wide forward. They could pass it to the wide forward and support them. They could switch it around the back and then out to the other side, to the other wide forward, or through the middle to the number 8. For 9v9, once we've got 2 teams of 9v9, now we've got 4 extra players on the field, and those players are often going to be central. So on the blue side, we've got 2 extra players. We've got the number 6, this extra centre midfielder, and we've got the number 9, this centre forward. So if the ball is with this wide defender, they still have similar options. They can dribble down the line, find 2v1s with the wide forward. They've got an extra midfielder that they could work with there. And then once once the ball is worked into this kind of wide mid area, then there's these 2 players that are readily available. Hopefully, the center forward is showing somewhere in a gap, and then the wide forward is also showing in a gap. And because the field is bigger, as always, the ball can be switched around to the other side, either through the back or kind of more directly through the midfield out to the other wide forward. I want to touch briefly on corners. So the corners are usually taken by the wide forward on that side, and then the center midfielder will kind of be around the near post area. The other wide forward will be around the back post area. The 2 wide defenders will be ready for kind of long shots. The near post one might show short if he's not getting any kind of pressure, or he might just get ready to take a shot or do a 2v1 if they pass it short. And then the central defender will be here for a shot. For 9v9, it's fairly similar. You'll see that most of the players haven't really changed positions. I'll just kind of talk about the players that have changed a little bit. So now that we have a center forward, we want them to be at the near post. We want the center midfielder now to be back from that near post, and then we want the other centre midfielder to be back from the far post where that other wide forward is. So we have kind of a box forming in the middle of the goal area. That's for the attacking team. And then for the defending team, the centre forward can be really useful kind of at the top of the box, protecting against the centre midfielders, getting the ball and shooting, but also these defenders getting the ball and taking long shots. And then the other centre midfielder might be in here. The other thing that the defending centre midfielder can do is he can be ready for counterattacks if the attacking team gets too aggressive. So substitutions for 7v7, our 3-1-2. If we're subbing by 2, we'll sub in on the coach's side, then go to the middle, then go to the parent's side, then off. Most of you would be well familiar with that. And then if we're subbing by 3, we'd sub into defense, we'd go to offense, and then we'd get subbed off. And we had different ways of dealing with like 4 subs and 5 subs. For 9v9, we don't have a nice number like 6 that's divisible by a 2 or a 3, which is our most common number of subs. We can deal with 2 subs and 4 subs fairly easily, so we'll probably use some variation of the 2 sub option, at least tonight. So we'll have the 2 more defensive central players subbing on first, and then moving up to be the more attacking central players. A central midfielder and then a centre forward, and then we'll pull them out to the wide on the coach's side, and then to the wide on the parent's side, and then off. So we'll probably run that tonight.